Can you imagine a world where the sky turns black at midday? Not from an eclipse, not from a storm, but from a living river of birds, 1 billion strong, stretching from horizon to horizon. This isn't a fantasy. This was North America, not so long ago. For hours, even days, the sun would vanish behind a storm of feathers and wings. The sound was a deafening roar, a combination of thunder and a mighty waterfall. As the passenger pigeon, Ectopistes migratorus, made its epic journey across the continent, imagine standing in a field in Ohio or Kentucky in the early 1800s. You hear a distant rumble, it grows louder, and the light begins to dim. You look up, and the sky is moving. A torrent of slate blue and rose-colored bodies, so dense they blot out the sun completely. The air cools, a strange, twilight calm falls over the land, punctuated by the flutter of countless wings. The wind they created was strong enough to feel on your face, and their droppings fell like a summer shower. It was a spectacle of nature so immense, so overwhelming, that it left people speechless, a mix of awe and even a little fear. This was a force of nature unlike any other, a biological phenomenon on a scale that we can barely comprehend today. It was a sight that defined the American wilderness for centuries. But to understand this incredible vanished world, we must go back, far back, to the very beginning. Long before the first European ships touched the shores of the New World, the story of the passenger pigeon was already ancient. Their evolutionary journey began millions of years ago, branching off from the same family tree as the familiar doves and pigeons we see today. Fossils tell us their ancestors weathered ice ages, adapting and thriving in the primeval forests that blanketed the continent. They were a species forged in the crucible of prehistoric North America, perfectly in tune with its rhythms. Their kingdom was the great eastern deciduous forest, a vast, unbroken sea of trees that stretched from the Atlantic coast to the Great Plains. Towering oaks, beeches, chestnuts, and maples provided everything they needed. This was their larder, their shelter, and their nursery. Unlike other birds that claim a small territory, the passenger pigeon's home was the entire forest. They were nomads, constantly on the move, chasing the seasonal bounty of nuts and berries. Their life was a perpetual journey, dictated by the fruiting of the trees. One year, they might be feasting on acorns in the mountains of Appalachia. The next, gorging on beech nuts in the forests of New England. This constant movement was not random. It was a brilliant survival strategy. By never staying in one place for too long, they prevented any single area from being stripped bare and allowed the forest to recover in their wake. They were a keystone species, shaping the very structure of the ecosystem they inhabited. The heart of their existence, the very pulse of their society, was the nesting colony. These were not just collections of nests. They were sprawling, temporary cities of birds, some of the largest animal gatherings ever to have existed on Earth. When it was time to breed, scouts would search for a suitable swath of forest, a place of strong branches and an abundance of food. Once a location was chosen, the great flock would descend. Imagine walking into one of these nesting sites. The air is thick with the cooing and chattering of millions of birds. Every available branch, from the lowest limbs to the highest canopy, is weighed down with flimsy twig nests. Sometimes, the sheer weight of the birds would snap massive tree limbs, sending nests, eggs, and chicks crashing to the forest floor. The ground below was a chaotic scene, covered in a thick layer of guano, eggshells, and fallen branches. Yet, amidst this apparent chaos, there was order. Each pair of pigeons would typically lay a single, gleaming white egg. Both parents shared the duties of incubation and feeding. The male would take the day shift, allowing the female to fly out and forage, and she would return to take over for the night. This synchronized partnership ensured their single, precious offspring had the best possible chance of survival. They were devoted parents, tirelessly feeding their chick, or squab, a rich, fatty substance called crop milk. The squabs grew at an astonishing rate, fattening up in just a few weeks. The forest floor, which seemed so chaotic, was actually a critical part of their life cycle. Fallen squabs that survived the drop would often find enough spilled food on the ground to continue growing, a testament to the sheer abundance of the colony. This strategy of overwhelming numbers was their greatest defense. With millions of nests in one area, predators like hawks, owls, and raccoons could eat their fill. but they could barely make a dent in the total population. It was safety in numbers on a scale that boggles the mind. For a few intense weeks, the forest would be transformed into this bustling, noisy metropolis. And then, almost as quickly as it began, it would end. The young would fledge, the parents would move on, and silence would return to the woods. The great city would be abandoned, leaving behind only the evidence of its brief, spectacular existence, until the cycle began anew somewhere else in the great American forest. This was the world of the passenger pigeon, a world of unimaginable abundance, a testament to the raw, untamed power of nature. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you're moved by the story of our planet's incredible history, don't forget to subscribe and follow along as we continue to explore the wonders of the natural world. In the vast, sun-dappled forests of North America, the spectacle of life unfolded, a sight now lost to time. Can you imagine a forest floor, not covered in leaves, but in a sprawling city of nests? A single, unbroken blanket stretching 4 miles upon miles. This was the world of the passenger pigeon, and at its heart, a billion tiny lives beginning their journey. Let's travel back and immerse ourselves in this forgotten world. The air hums with a gentle, continuous cooing, a sound that fills every corner of the wilderness. It's spring, and the great flocks have arrived. The sunlight, warm and golden, filters through the canopy, painting shifting patterns on the ground. This is the perfect time for new beginnings. The parent birds, having traveled hundreds of miles, now focus on the most important task of their lives: raising the next generation. The choice of a nesting site wasn't random. They sought out massive, ancient forests, places with sturdy branches capable of holding the weight of millions. Each pair would claim a small territory, a tiny plot in a metropolis of nests. The construction was a simple, hurried affair. The male would gather twigs, one by one, and present them to the female. She, the master architect, would weave them into a flimsy, almost transparent platform. It wasn't much, but it was home. And into this delicate cradle, she would lay a single, precious egg. Just one. A stark white oval against the dark twigs, holding the promise of a new life. This single egg strategy was a key to their success. By investing all their energy into one chick, they maximized its chances of survival in a world filled with challenges. The parents shared the responsibility of incubation with a remarkable synchronicity. The male would sit on the egg during the day, his iridescent neck feathers shimmering in the sunlight. As dusk approached, the female would return from her foraging and take over for the long, dark night. They were a team united by a singular purpose. For about 2 weeks, this quiet, patient vigil continued. The forest floor buzzed with the activity of millions of parents, all waiting, all protecting their single, precious hope. Then, a tiny crack would appear on the eggshell. A small beak would chip away, and a new life would emerge. The squab, as the chick is called, was born blind, helpless, and covered in a sparse, yellowish down. It was completely dependent on its parents for everything: warmth, food, and safety. In these first few days, the parents' dedication was absolute. They would brood the chick constantly, shielding it from the cool spring air and the prying eyes of predators. The feeding process was truly unique. Passenger pigeons produced a special substance called pigeon's milk or crop milk. It's not milk in the mammalian sense, but a rich, fatty, protein-packed secretion from the lining of their crop. Both the male and female produced this soup. The tiny squab would stick its head deep into the parent's throat to drink this nourishing liquid. It was a transfer of life, a direct infusion of energy that fueled incredible growth. Thanks to this nutrient-dense diet, the squabs grew at an astonishing rate. Within just a few days, they would double in size. Their yellow down would be replaced by a coat of pin feathers, the beginnings of their adult plumage. You could almost see them growing stronger by the hour. The forest, once filled with the gentle cooing of adults, now had a new sound. The soft, insistent chirps of millions of hungry chicks. The parents were relentless foragers. Each day, they would fly out in vast, swirling clouds that darkened the sky, traveling up to 100 miles in search of acorns, beechnuts, and berries. They would gorge themselves, filling their crops to bursting, and then make the long journey back to the nesting colony. Upon their return, They would navigate the chaos of millions of identical nests with unerring accuracy, finding their own chick among the masses to deliver the much-needed meal. As the squabs grew, their diet changed. The parents would gradually introduce regurgitated seeds and nuts, preparing the young birds for the food they would soon find on their own. By the end of 2 weeks, the transformation was nearly complete. The once helpless chick was now a portly, fully feathered fledgling, almost as large as its parents. They were called butterballs by those who saw them, a testament to their plump, well-fed state. They were almost ready to face the world. Then, at around the 2-week mark, something remarkable happened. The parents left. All at once, the adult birds would abandon the nesting colony, leaving their nearly grown offspring behind. It might seem cruel, but it was a brilliant survival strategy. The sudden departure forced the fledglings to become independent. For a few days, the young birds would live off their fat reserves, sitting on their branches, exercising their wings. Hunger was the ultimate motivator. One by one, then in a great cascade, they would take their first leap. They would flutter down from the nests to the forest floor. They weren't strong flyers yet, but they could hop and scramble. For the next week or so, the ground of the great forest was alive with these young pigeons, learning to forage for themselves, pecking at seeds and fallen nuts, building their strength. They stayed together, a vast, rustling carpet of young birds, finding safety in their incredible numbers. Any predator would be overwhelmed by the sheer volume of potential prey. During this time, their flight feathers fully developed. Their wing muscles strengthened. Soon, they were able to make short flights, lifting off the forest floor and into the lower branches. The clumsy hops turned into confident ascents. The collective chirping of the fledglings became a roar of anticipation. They were on the cusp of joining the great flock. And then, they would take to the sky, not as individuals, but as a unified whole. A billion new birds, rising from the forest floor to join the endless river of wings that flowed across the continent. They had survived the most vulnerable stage of their lives. They had grown from a fragile egg to a powerful flyer in just a few short weeks. They were now part of the colony, part of something larger than themselves. A living, breathing force of nature that shaped the very landscape of North America. To witness this would have been to witness a miracle, to see the forest floor itself come alive, to hear the thunder of a billion wings, to feel the profound connection of life, from a single egg to a sky-filling flock. It's a story of incredible parental care, of rapid growth, and of the sheer power of community. It's a reminder of the delicate, intricate, and awe-inspiring cycles of the natural world. Though we can no longer see it with our own eyes, we can close them. Listen to the whisper of the wind in the trees, and imagine the day the forest came alive with pigeons. Thank you for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this moment of peace and wonder valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more immersive stories from the natural world. Have you ever wondered how a billion birds can find food without destroying a single forest? How so many tiny lives can journey across continents, painting the sky with their wings, all in a gentle, peaceful rhythm? Let's journey with them tonight and uncover their secrets. Imagine, if you will, a vast forest awakening to the soft light of an autumn morning. The air is crisp, and a golden haze hangs among the trees. This is the world of the passenger pigeon, a bird that once numbered in the billions. Their flocks were so immense, they could darken the sky for hours, a river of life flowing through the air. Yet, this incredible multitude lived in perfect harmony with the world around them. Their secret lay in their diet and their constant movement. The great hardwood forests of North America were their dining hall. In the fall, the forest floor would be a carpet of acorns, beech nuts, and chestnuts. For the pigeons, this was a magnificent feast, laid out for them by the ancient trees. They would descend upon a forest, not with destruction, but with a gentle purpose. They were foragers, not plunderers. Think of them moving through the undergrowth, their soft cooing a constant, soothing murmur. They weren't tearing branches or stripping trees bare. Instead, they were gleaners, picking up what had already fallen. Each bird would eat its fill of nuts and seeds, a high-energy meal perfect for fueling their long journeys. They would also feast on berries, wild grapes, and the occasional insect, a varied diet that ensured they never depleted any single resource. What's truly remarkable is that their presence was often beneficial. As they foraged, Their scratching and movement would turn over the soil, much like a gardener tending to their plot. This aerated the earth and helped to bury seeds, planting the very forests that would feed future generations. They were not just takers. They were caretakers, a vital part of the forest's own cycle of renewal. And then, as quickly as they arrived, they would be gone. 1 billion birds, lifting into the air as one, continuing their great migration. They never stayed in one place long enough to cause damage. Their life was a continuous journey, following the seasons and the ripening of the forests. This nomadic lifestyle was the key to their sustainable existence. The forest they left behind would have a year or more to recover and replenish its bounty before the great flock might return. Their migration routes were ancient pathways etched into their collective memory, passed down through countless generations. From the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, they traveled in breathtaking formations. Observers of the time described the sound of their wings as a mighty rushing wind, a roar that could be heard for miles. Yet, within this massive, powerful entity, there was an incredible sense of order and cooperation. Within the flock, there was a constant, fluid communication. Birds at the front, having eaten their fill, would rise and circle back to the rear, allowing those behind them to move forward and feed. This rolling motion ensured that every single bird in the vast multitude had a chance to eat. It was a beautiful, instinctual dance of fairness and community, a system that ensured the survival of all, not just the strongest. This cooperation was their greatest survival strategy. A lone pigeon was vulnerable, but 1 billion pigeons moving together were a force of nature. They were a community on the wing. When they roosted for the night, they would settle in such numbers that their combined weight could snap thick tree branches. But even this apparent destruction had a purpose. The fallen branches and the immense amount of droppings they left behind would enrich the soil, creating fertile clearings where new life could flourish. They were unintentional farmers, shaping the landscape in subtle, life-giving ways. Let's imagine settling down to watch them, not with the hurried pace of our modern world, but with the quiet patience of nature itself. Picture yourself by a slow-moving river, the afternoon sun warming your face. The wind whispers through the tall oaks and maples, their leaves a brilliant tapestry of red, orange, and yellow. You hear it first as a distant hum, a vibration in the air. Then you see them, a shimmering cloud on the horizon, growing larger and larger until the sky itself seems to be alive. The sound is not overwhelming, but a deep, resonant symphony of 1 billion wings beating in unison. As they pass overhead, the light flickers, creating a moving mosaic of sun and shadow on the forest floor. There is no panic, no chaos, just a peaceful, rhythmic progression. It's a moment that stills the mind and fills the soul with wonder. You feel a profound sense of connection to something ancient and immense, a reminder of the intricate and beautiful web of life. Their survival depended on this gentle rhythm, this deep understanding of the world they inhabited. They knew when the acorns would fall, when the wild berries would be ripe. They followed the sun and the stars, their internal compass guiding them on their epic journey. Their life was a testament to the idea that abundance does not require destruction, that 1 billion lives can be sustained by the earth's bounty, as long as they move in harmony with its cycles. As night falls, the great flock settles. The roar of wings subsides, replaced by a soft, continuous cooing, a sound like gentle rain on a forest canopy. It's a lullaby, sung by 1 billion voices, a chorus of contentment and peace. This was the sound that once echoed through the vast wilderness of a continent, a sound of life, of community, of a world in perfect balance. Though the passenger pigeon is no longer with us, their story is not one of sorrow, but a timeless lesson. It teaches us about balance, cooperation, and the gentle art of living in harmony with the natural world. It reminds us that nature's systems are wise and ancient, and that even the smallest creatures can play a monumental role. As you close your eyes tonight, let the image of this great river of birds flow through your mind. See the golden forests, the wide open skies. Hear the soft rustle of leaves in the wind and the gentle murmur of the flock. Let this story be a peaceful current, carrying you into a deep and restful sleep. Remember the 1 billion birds and the peaceful rhythm of their world. Thank you for joining this journey. Sleep well. For thousands of years, a secret rhythm has pulsed through these ancient forests, a beat so precise, so synchronized, it seems almost impossible. Imagine, if you will, an entire species moving as one. A living, breathing machine, orchestrated by the cycles of the sun and moon. Every spring, as the first rays of warmth coax the new leaves from their buds, a silent signal is sent. It travels on the wind, a whisper that awakens a deep, ancestral instinct in millions of hearts. For this is the time of renewal, the time when an entire population, scattered across vast landscapes, begins to move in perfect harmony. Their lives, their futures, are about to converge in a spectacle of nature so profound it defies belief. This isn't just a mating season, it's a planetary event, a biological clockwork ticking on a continental scale, a story of survival written into the very fabric of their being. And it all begins with a single, shared impulse. The air begins to hum with a new energy. The males, adorned in their most vibrant plumage, stake their claim. Their songs are not just melodies, they are declarations, intricate sonnets, passed down through countless generations. Each trill, each note, is a testament to their strength, their health, their readiness to become a father. They dance, they display, they offer gifts of a carefully chosen twig, a shimmering beetle wing. These are not random acts, they are a language of commitment. The females watch, discerning and wise. They are not merely choosing a mate. They are selecting a partner, a co-builder, a protector for the family they're about to start. It's a courtship of deep significance, where the future of their lineage hangs in the balance of a single choice. Once a pair bond is formed, it is a pact of absolute dedication, a promise to face the coming challenges together. As these countless pairs form, a great journey begins. Driven by this ancient calling, they converge on sacred grounds, specific forests that have served as their nurseries for millennia. It's as if the trees themselves are whispering, "Come, you are safe here." Entire woodlands, once quiet and still, transform into bustling, vibrant cities of life. The air thickens with the flutter of wings and the chorus of 1,000 voices, all working towards a single, unified purpose. They are here to build a future. The forest floor becomes a tapestry of activity as they search for the perfect materials. A strand of soft moss here, a sturdy twig there, a piece of lichen for camouflage. Every element is chosen with care, woven together with masterful precision. Each nest is an architectural marvel, a perfect cradle designed to shelter the most precious of cargoes. In a breathtaking display of synchronization, the nests are completed almost in unison. Then, a hush falls over the forest. In the quiet solitude of their newly built homes, the females lay their eggs. It happens across thousands of nests, often within the same few days. Theses Naturis. Ultimate strategy. By timing the arrival of their young so precisely, they create a safety net of sheer numbers. A predator might find one nest, or even a few, but it cannot possibly find them all. The forest has become a fortress, a massive, decentralized nursery where every family contributes to the survival of the whole. The parents now begin the patient act of incubation, sharing duties, one keeping the eggs warm while the other forages for food. Their bond is tested and strengthened through these long days and nights. A quiet vigil kept under the watchful eyes of the ancient trees. The seasonal cycle is the silent conductor of this grand orchestra. The timing is everything. The eggs must hatch, just as the forest reaches its peak of abundance. The parent centennial clocks are tuned to the lengthening days, the warming soil, the subtle cues of budding plants, and the first stirrings of insects. They are born ecologists, instinctively understanding that their babies will need a constant, plentiful supply of food the moment they emerge. This isn't just about their own survival, but about timing their children's birth to coincide with nature's grand feast. This perfect alignment between the bird's reproductive cycle and the ecosystem's productivity is a testament to millions of years of evolution. It's a delicate balance, a dance between life and season that ensures the next generation has the very best start possible. Then, the miracle unfolds. Across the forest, a faint tapping can be heard, a sound that multiplies by the million. The eggs begin to hatch. Tiny, vulnerable creatures emerge into the world, their mouths gaping, their cries a constant, urgent demand for food. The forest, once a city of builders, is now a frantic, non-stop delivery service. The parents worked tirelessly from dawn until dusk, their flights a blur of motion as they shuttled back and forth, delivering mouthfuls of protein-rich insects to their hungry brood. The soft chirps of the nestlings are the new heartbeat of the forest, a sound of pure, unadulterated life. It is a period of relentless effort, a testament to the incredible power of parental devotion. Every parent in that small corner of the woods is a hero, fighting against time and the elements to nurture their young. As the weeks pass, the nestlings grow with incredible speed. Feathers replace down, and their chirps begin to sound more like the calls of their parents. The forest becomes a flight school. The first leap from the nest is a moment of pure terror and triumph. It's an act of faith, a jump into the vast, unknown world. The parents coax and encourage, calling to their young, showing them the way. There are clumsy first attempts, tumbles into the soft leaves below, but with every try, they grow stronger and more confident. Soon, the air is filled with the flapping of inexperienced wings as an entire generation learns to fly together. They learn to find their own food, to recognize the call of a distant hawk, to navigate the complex world of the forest canopy. They are learning the skills that will carry them through their lives, skills taught by their parents and honed by instinct. This incredible synchronization, this living machine of reproduction, is the key to their survival as a species. For thousands upon thousands of years, this cycle has repeated, a rhythm of life, death, and renewal that has allowed them to endure ice ages, changing landscapes, and countless other challenges. Their strength lies not in individual might, but in collective action. By moving as one, by raising their young in a massive, coordinated effort, they have become a force of nature in their own right. They are a living river of life, flowing through time, each generation a wave that builds upon the last. It's a profound story of resilience, a reminder that there is immense power in unity and in moving in harmony with the great cycles of the natural world. This ancient forest is not just a collection of trees. It is a library, and every bird is a living book, carrying the story of their ancestors forward into the future. As the summer sun begins to wane and the days grow shorter, a new signal is sent. The time of nurturing is over. The time of dispersal is at hand. The young, now fully grown and independent, begin to feel a new restlessness. The immense congregation slowly dissolves. Families go their separate ways, scattering once more across the landscape, taking the genetic legacy of the nursery with them. The forest grows quiet again, the thousands of empty nests standing as silent monuments to the life they briefly held. The air returns to its tranquil state, the echoes of the season fading into memory. The birds, now spread far and wide, will live out their lives until the cycle begins anew, until that ancient, irresistible call once again summons them back to the sacred grounds to repeat the timeless ritual that ensures their kind will endure. And so, the forest rests, breathing a slow, patient sigh. The warm evening light filters through the canopy, illuminating the silent nests, remnants of a miracle. For millennia, they were a force of nature, a living river that flowed through the skies of North America, so vast it could block out the sun for days. When the first European settlers arrived, they gazed upward in disbelief. The flocks were not just birds, they were a spectacle, a phenomenon that seemed as permanent as the mountains and forests. Billions upon billions of passenger pigeons, moving as one organism, their wings beating a thunderous rhythm that echoed across the wilderness. To witness it was to feel small, to understand that this new world held wonders beyond imagination. They were an inexhaustible resource, a gift from Providence that would surely last forever. Early accounts described the sky turning black, the air growing cool in the shadow of their passage. Branches of massive oaks and pines would snap under the sheer weight of the roosting birds. They were a symbol of the untamed, boundless abundance of the American continent. No one, not a single soul, could have conceived of a world without them. The early American settlers saw the pigeons as a welcome bounty. In a land that was often harsh and unforgiving, the birds were a reliable source of food. Hunting them was simple. A single shot into a roosting colony could bring down dozens. A net strung between trees could capture hundreds. For families carving a life out of the wilderness, the pigeons were survival. They were smoked, salted, and stored for the lean winter months. Their feathers filled pillows and mattresses. Their fat was rendered into oil. It was a harvest, a part of the natural cycle. But as the nation grew, so did the scale of the hunt. What began as subsistence slowly began to shift. The flocks were still immense, still inspiring, but a new kind of thinking was taking root. The idea of nature, not just as a provider, but as a commodity to be exploited. The turning point came with the twin engines of 19th century progress: the railroad and the telegraph. Suddenly, the continent was connected. A message could flash across hundreds of nopega miles in an instant, pinpointing the location of a massive nesting site, and the railroads could carry hunters to that site and then transport their kill back to the burgeoning cities of the East. This was no longer about feeding a family. This was the birth of an industry, a ruthless, brutally efficient industry built on slaughter. Commercial harvesting began on a scale that is almost impossible to comprehend today. Professional hunters, known as pigeoners, descended on the nesting colonies, which could stretch for miles. They were not sportsmen. They were agents of annihilation. They brought with them a cold, calculated methodology for killing. The market hunting industry was a well-oiled machine of destruction. Pigeoners would set up sprawling camps on the edges of the nesting grounds. The air, once filled with the sound of cooing birds, now rang with the constant crack of firearms, the shouts of men, and the thud of falling bodies. They used every method imaginable. They set fire to the grass beneath the trees, suffocating the birds with thick, acrid smoke. They doused rags in sulfur and tied them to long poles, thrusting them up into the nests to poison the squabs. They laid down vast nets and used captive stool pigeons to lure entire flocks into the trap. The goal was simple: kill as many as possible, as quickly as possible. The ground beneath the trees became a carpet of dead and dying birds, sometimes several feet deep. The young, flightless squabs were knocked from their nests with long poles and crushed underfoot, or simply left to starve. The scene was one of utter carnage. From these smoky, chaotic camps, the slaughter was industrialized. Barrels were filled with the bodies of adult pigeons, pack titans shipped by the trainload to cities like New York, Chicago, and Boston. The birds were sold in markets for pennies apiece, so cheap they were used as live targets in shooting galleries, or even fed to hogs. The tender squabs were considered a delicacy, their fatty bodies plucked and sent to the finest restaurants. For decades, this was a booming business. It employed thousands of people, from the hunters in the field to the railway workers, the barrel makers, and the market vendors. It was a system of extraction, relentless and all-consuming. There was no thought for the future, no concept of conservation. The prevailing belief was simple and deadly. The supply was infinite. For every million birds killed, there were millions more just over the horizon. The river in the sky, they believe it, could never run dry. But the river was shrinking, slowly at first, then with terrifying speed. The signs of collapse began to appear. Nesting colonies that once covered 100 square miles were now only a fraction of that size. The great flocks, the ones that darkened the sun, became a memory. By the 1880s, people started to notice. The hunts became less successful. Pigeoners had to travel farther and farther to find smaller and smaller flocks. The seemingly infinite resource was showing its limits. The passenger pigeon's survival strategy had been its numbers. They nested and flew in such massive concentrations that predators could never make a significant dent. But this same strategy made them uniquely vulnerable to industrialized human hunting. We didn't just take from the edges, we struck at the very heart of their breeding grounds, disrupting their ability to reproduce on a colossal scale. The engine of their life became the engine of their death. The decline was catastrophic. Within a single human lifetime, a species that numbered in the billions was pushed to the brink of extinction. A few forward-thinking individuals raised the alarm, calling for laws to protect the birds, to establish hunting seasons, or to ban the trapping of nesting colonies. But these efforts were too little, too late. The economic momentum of the slaughter was too powerful, and the political will was too weak. By the 1890s, the great flocks were gone forever. Only scattered, frightened remnants remained, ghosts flitting through the forests where their ancestors had once held dominion. The vast, thunderous roosting sites fell silent. The skies, once black with their passing, were now empty. The professional pigeoners moved on to other game, leaving behind a profound and chilling quiet. The industry that had thrived on the passenger pigeon had consumed its own foundation, leaving nothing but memory and regret. The final years were a slow, sad fade into oblivion. The last confirmed wild passenger pigeon was shot by a boy in Ohio in 1900. He didn't know what it was. It was just a bird. After that, there were only the captives. A small, dwindling flock kept in the Cincinnati Zoo. One by one, they died off. On September 1st, 1914, the very last of her kind, a female named Martha, died in her enclosure. With her final breath, an entire species vanished from the earth. A biological force that had shaped the North American landscape for thousands of years was gone. The sky-filling flocks, the thundering wings, the living river, all of it was reduced to a name, a museum specimen, a cautionary tale. Her death marked a turning point in human consciousness. For the first time, we were forced to confront a terrible new reality. Our power to erase a species from existence, completely and irrevocably. The extinction of the passenger pigeon was not an accident of nature. It was a choice, a result of greed, short-sightedness, and the arrogant belief that nature's bounty was limitless. It helped to galvanize the modern conservation movement, giving birth to new laws and a new ethic of stewardship. We learned, in the most brutal way possible, that the world is not infinite. Its wonders are fragile, and their survival is our responsibility. Today, the forests are quiet, the skies are clear. We look up and see only the blue expanse, unaware of the spectacle we have lost. The story of the passenger pigeon is not just a historical account of a lost bird, it is a mirror. It reflects our capacity for destruction, but also our capacity for awareness and change. It is a somber, enduring reminder, whispering to us from the past, that we must be careful, we must be guardians, because extinction is forever. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please consider subscribing for more journeys into our shared past.